Steven Levy, the author of In the Plex, the sensational new book about Google.
That's better. Yeah.
I don't know if it's sensational, but it's a very interesting and very important book. It's probably the most complete book I've written on Google, although someone will probably come along and write something more
Someone might say you haven't written it.
I don't think I could write a book as complex or as complete or as fair as this one. Yeah. There are lots of questions, though, in the book, particularly, I think, about the future of Google. What is your view? What do you say in the book, and what is your view about this issue of antitrust and whether or not Google is a monopoly?
I think, and I covered Microsoft during the period where the Justice Department took it to task during the 1990s. I think there's something essentially different about a search engine where you really can go to a different search engine with one click than something like Microsoft, which had a lock-in. Changing an operating system means abandoning your applications. And those were the days when you had operating systems and applications and things like that. On the other hand, Google does have an enormous amount of power by its dominance of the search engine market, and the government, quite reasonably, wants to make sure that that dominance isn't leveraged to get an unfair advantage over competitors when Google goes to other areas. So in something like when Google wants to buy the travel system that has the infrastructure that its competitors use, that deserves scrutiny. And realistically, Google now understands, and certainly should understand, that every big acquisition it makes from now on in is going to come under scrutiny from the Justice Department. They can't operate with a free hand because they have this power.
Is Google a media company?
I would say no. If you define it by saying, does Google have huge media operations? Does it make its money from advertising? The answer, of course, is yes. But in its soul, I don't see it as a media company. You could say to me, is Google an internet company? I would say, yeah. Is Google an artificial intelligence company? I would say, yes. Is it a technology company? Is it an engineering company? Yes. But its DNA isn't media. It isn't like a media company. I've worked for media companies. Google's different.
But it does control a lot of content, and ultimately the search engine does depend on human beings for determining what comes up first. Isn't that fair?
It depends on human beings to the extent that human beings...
Well, Matt Cutts or whoever else is doing the programming is determining when I enter your name into Google, something will appear first, and the Google algorithm is deciding that, and someone is deciding the algorithm.
Yeah, it's an editorial decision made by algorithms.
Which makes them a media company. No or yes, if they're making editorial decisions?
It is, are search engine results media? You could get into a big philosophical discussion about this. I think it's technology. It's the technology that combines a judgment, because you want something to come up at the end, which is a judgment. The judgment is this going to work? Of course, Google measures that by the happiness of its users. They try not to say, okay, these results look good to us, so we're going to keep them. Instead, they say successful results, happy users, are measured by their behavior on the website. There's a big misunderstanding about Google's logs, and people talk about the information that Google has about you and the information it has when you search in particular there. And they say, why can't Google just erase all that information after you do a search? Just blanket totally. Well, the reason is Google needs a baseline. They say it's 9 months of what happens when you go to the search engine, user behavior, so they can improve the search engine. Those logs are the raw data by which it feeds into its learning system to understand more about the world and how to better deliver search results. You take away those logs and Google can't improve its search engine.
So, do you expect the FTC to launch an antitrust investigation into Google?
Well, they've been investigating it, for the travel thing.
A formal investigation.
It's interesting, you mentioned the FTC. When Christine Varney, who's the head of antitrust for the Obama administration, came in, there was a lot made of a remark that she had made before she got the job, where she said the next big antitrust issue is going to be Google. And the antitrust division of the Justice Department has looked over Google, and they weighed in negatively about the book settlement, but we haven't seen that big heavy suit like we saw with Microsoft. And I think it's not as clear cut in that sense. I think it's more clear cut to they scrutinize new things, which is that FTC thing you're talking about, as opposed to saying this whole operation is something that was acquired unfairly. It's okay to have a monopoly, but it's not okay to get your monopoly by nefarious means. And I think Google has a pretty good case by saying they achieved their dominance fairly. But as we said before, they're always going to have to watch out for the judgment on behalf of the FTC or the DOJ that, okay, now you're going to use that unfairly. We have to stop that.